Hi, everybody. Welcome to Real Siblings. It Ain't Easy. I am Donna Reed, realtor with Keller Williams, Southern Arizona, and I'm in Tucson, Arizona. And I'm here with my brother.
Eric Seaman, and I'm with Keller Williams Heritage in San Antonio, Texas.
As you are about to find out, and actually, which we have just kind of figured out, is that this is not your typical real estate podcast. In fact, what we're doing is we're blending lifestyle together with real estate to entertain and inform our listeners. Um, we want to work to connect the two houses that we lived in together, along with our parents and siblings, and then the two additional houses where I raised my family decades later. And all of that was so influential in our careers. We have recognized that the properties are only a little bit of the equation and that the balance is comprised of our life and our upbringing in the small farming village of Lindsay, Ohio. The combination of our what we call idyllic lifestyle together with memorable homes positively and irrevocably impacted our lives and careers in real estate in the southwestern states where we now live. We hope that our audience will find our nostalgic conversation interesting and enjoy it, despite all of the twists and turns that we kind of tend to take. We hope that we enlighten and entertain you. And in the end, we hope that we'll be successful in providing you with some expert knowledge of the markets while we share some history, statistics, and information about our local real estate market. So, Eric, brother dear, I'm watching you fade in and out. Eric went and put on a really cool shirt that matches the neat image behind him, but he's either here or not. Eric,
It's
now I don't
not
even.
green screen. The beard and the face stays, so that's all
Yeah,
that's important,
yeah,
right?
yeah. Anyway, so you got this cool picture behind you of horses, rodeo. What's going on? Tell me about
That
rodeo.
is it. Right now, sum it up by saying, let's rodeo, San Antonio. It is that time of year. February is stock show and rodeo in San Antonio. Award-winning event, in largest indoor or best indoor rodeo, large category, year after year after year. And it gets started on February 9th, which happens to be the day we're recording. And from the day this is published, it'll be 7 days in, but it runs for about 2 full weeks. And if you're into bulls or broncs or barrel racing or mutton busting, then rodeo is the event for you.
Okay, you said indoor, so is that at the Alamo Dome? Like, I don't know, is it the Alamo Dome?
It is the Alamo Dome. This is one of those events that it really impacts the city because the Alamo Dome is where the San Antonio Spurs play.
Right, right.
And since the AT&T Center was completed, the Spurs annually take what they call locally here the Rodeo Road Trip, which
Ah,
fortunately encompasses All-Star Weekend. So there's
okay.
a little bit of a break, but typically the Spurs will be on the road for 8 to 9 games continuously, plus the All-Star break before they come back home and play another home game.
That's sort of funny when you consider how important sports are in everybody's world. So here this team has to leave because now the horses and everybody are going to be in their
Because the horses are
states.
coming in, and the big thing about that is the stock show and rodeo has reused the same dirt for over 25 years.
I don't even understand that. Like, how is that possible?
They they have a basketball court in the AT&T Center. The basketball court is removed, and they bring in special dirt
Ah,
that was specifically filtered and ground to a specific consistency. It is bulldozed in, it is leveled, it is put in place to keep all the horses and livestock safe. And then at the end, they pull it all back out, they put it in mounds, they put it under tarp, and they'll save it for next year.
and you know what's funny? The things that just popped into my head about that is back when I first saw Up with People and they were in Toledo at the sports arena, there was like the ice rink. So they had the ice, and then they built a stage on top of the ice rink. But I haven't thought about that process in 45 years or
That's right.
something.
And
So
when all of the horses and the bulls and everything is done from the rodeo event, every night there is a major concert event. And the concert
ah,
stage has to be mobile, has to be able to be pulled into place, moved into the center of the arena. It's a flatbed truck that rolls down, folds down, and creates a round stage. The drums and amps are typically set up. It's a plug-in sound check, light check, and on with the show when you do a major rodeo concert in the evening. And it's across all genres. They do a Christian concert, they do
Okay, I was
lots of
going to
country
ask that.
western,
Yeah.
they do classic rock, they bring in everybody.
Because
It's a blast.
in my brain, it would all be country, right? So that I was going to ask you that. I was going to ask if, okay, is it?
Yeah, no, I think Journey was last year. I can't remember who
Mhm.
the rock classic rock band is this year.
And then does the arena, does the Alamo Dome provide this stage and they just have to make it work? Or did they
Yes.
have, oh,
No, no,
okay,
no, no.
okay,
It's like, look, this is your space. And
right, right.
you're not getting any more. But rodeo, 30 years down here in Texas, you realize what a way of life rodeo is.
Uh, yeah,
It is There are universities in West Texas where you don't get football scholarships, you get rodeo scholarships.
that's hard to comprehend for those of us that grew up in the Midwest.
Right. I mean, docile dairy cows, right? That's what we
Right.
had. And we talked about it. The town that we went to high school in, not where we lived, Fremont, had was also the county seat. So
Yeah,
the Sandusky County Fair was held annually every year, right around Labor Day, and it was a 7-day event.
yeah.
And stock
I
show and
just,
rodeo goes on for days and days, and it is thousands, hundreds of thousands of dollars in scholarships will be given out in the stock show portion of the event. And
all
it's
right, so
almost entirely volunteer run.
explain that to me because I'm not sure. So is the stock show piece raising animals that are to be sold or like what is that piece? I don't understand it.
Yes, they are show animals. So you've
Okay.
got high schoolers
Yeah.
who are raising cattle and some college age that are
Okay.
raising animals, specific breeds, specific stock, specific categories, and they come in and compete at the end of the year for best in show. And in best in show animals now can go for six figures.
All right. So that it's funny. Just so y'all that know this, that I'm recording, I say the word so a lot, and apparently all my S's are a mess. So now I'm gonna think about it
Now I've
every
got you
time.
subconscious
So
about
yeah,
your.
and I gotta try to come up with another word. and and then to think about it because when I worked the summer I worked at Jackson Hole, I went to the rodeo there, and that was the first time I'd been to a rodeo. And then I remember going with Gil when we first moved here. But tell me the people that come, because we were talking beforehand about the fact that Houston has one, and you know that all over Texas there's rodeo, and Tucson has one also. Do people come from all over the country for this, or is it predominantly people in and around, oh, we live closer to San Antonio?
It depends. So
Okay.
it's probably falls even outside of Pareto's principle a little bit. I would say that 90% of the attendees who come are regional.
Okay.
They're somewhere within the San Antonio Hill Country region, maybe up from the valley, but McAllen runs a decent sized rodeo. Of course, Houston is only 3 hours away. They have a major indoor event. Dallas does too. But there are, like anything, there is that core group.
Okay.
If you're into stock car racing, you're going to make certain races throughout the year and you're coming in from someplace in the country. If you've got a specific event
Yeah.
category, then you're there. And there's probably 10% of that audience who moves and travels and will be here for this and then follow their guy out to El Paso next week and
Okay.
up to Houston in the following week. And they make the circuit like that.
Okay.
They,
And so then are I'm going to call them performers. I don't know what to call them. The people that participate. Um, okay, clearly they're hauling animals, right? They're bringing animals. So are there big campgrounds that everybody stays at, or
there are people have trailers that they can stay in right there on the grounds. There is a
okay,
huge portion of the parking lot that is dedicated to everybody who's staying on site in their trailers, in their RVs, in their
okay,
horse, in their equipment, whatever it is. There'll be some who are coming in who are not participants who will be in hotels.
okay.
And we have a lot of that that goes on because,
The family and everybody.
yeah,
Yeah, Yeah.
So it's one of those events that just it's a lifestyle, and
It,
it's a lot of
yeah.
fun, and you get down there, and of course it's this time of year, which is this February is really the winter month in San Antonio,
Right. Us too.
and you'll get sloppy, ugly, gray, cold, rainy days that you're supposed to go to the food because there's a full carnival that's outside. There's all kinds of carnival type food, huge outdoor eating area, plus all the barns where all of the judging is going on for sheep, for goats, for cattle, for horses, for pigs and hogs. And it's all there and it's all happening. And like I said, there's
Interesting.
full time staff, but lots and lots and lots of volunteers who
Right.
just
Right.
come in to have fun. And again, we talked fairgrounds, and what did we have? We had dirt races and tractor pulls.
Pulls. There was a singer, there was a show. I remember seeing a show or two. All I remember is that we would start school, and then like a week later, it'd be the fair, and everybody that had an animal at the fair like wasn't at school.
Wasn't
So
it school?
yeah,
And it
so
was
if you
just
were
understood. Yep.
yeah, if you took baked goods or a sewing, you didn't have any excuse to miss school. I was always kind of jealous of all the kids
Or
that,
models. I put models in several years.
and you didn't get to skip school to go take care of your model.
No, but we just should for one of the blue ribbon bakers who was regularly at the fair would be who? Vicky Overmeyer?
Vicky Overmeyer.
I
Yeah.
mean, we both have her recipes in our
Yeah.
drawers somewhere, right? In our
Yeah.
kitchen drawer somewhere because of her contributions to the church
Yeah. And to the county
recipe
fair. And
book.
I don't know if you know this, but one of her granddaughters has actually started a company, and she is baking and using some of Vicky's recipes. So we'll have to make sure we tell them that
Is
we
she
mentioned
calling it Miss Vicky's?
something like, yeah, seriously, something like that. I'll have to find it because it was really sweet that one of the granddaughters is doing that. So
Okay, so we
anyway,
talked
okay.
what's going on here, and your picture behind you is about what's happening in Tucson.
That's right. So after a bit, I was like, it reminds me of the movie The Dark Crystal. So behind me, if you're watching, I have a bunch of geodes, and they're almost all purple except for the one at the bottom. Eric was asking me well, how'd that orange one get there? I don't know. I don't know what it is or why it's different. But first of all, we also have a rodeo in February. February is our single biggest month for business in Arizona, which is interesting. We have the winter visitors, and then we have people that come. Our rodeo is smaller, clearly, than what's happening in San Antonio. It's called Fiesta de los Vaqueros. There's a lot of Mexico influence and things like that too. But the Tucson Gem and Mineral Show is one of the largest in the world, if not the largest. And I was looking up some stats beforehand about how much business it brings, because when COVID hit in 2020, it had just ended. It was February, it had just ended, and then we didn't have it in 2021. I think it was back in 22. Frankly, the years go by and I can't remember exactly. But last year they were saying that it brought in about $131 million over 3 weeks time, and
In revenue to the city.
in revenue to the city. So about 65,000 people from and they said that it's kind of an anomaly. This started out as this tiny little show. Well, now there's 38 to 40 different shows. So you can go and get gems and minerals from around the world. And I should have worn this cool necklace that I got. I went and bought a stone a few years ago from Nepal, and then I had friends wrap it in gold, and a mineral called vanadianite, which for those of you that are interested, you can research that and see why I would have bought that. But there's a show with beads. There's a show where you can get moon rocks. There's shows where you can get just like all turquoise or the silver. And now I think there's dinosaur bones. I mean, they're all over the city. So some of the small hotels and motels this time of year, their rooms are filled instead with people who have rented them to sell their wares.
So they're actually doing it out of the hotel rooms. There are people that can
some of them. I mean, it starts with all the tents going up. You can see as you go around downtown, you'll start seeing the tents that are going up. And there'll be some that are strictly for wholesalers that you can't get in unless you're an owner. It's like having a press badge for an event or something. And people come from all over and they buy all of what they're going to buy for the whole year for their business. And that could be somebody selling on Pinterest. It could be somebody who has a chain of of stores. It could be the local people just getting what they want. And then there's always the ones that the rest of us are allowed to shop. And to be honest, I can go and spend all day in one building. Like I don't even know how people figure out what they're going to do, but I think it's got like everything else. It's like a shopping list. You know what you need, you know what your business is, you know what you're going to buy, and you come and do that. And if you want a geode, well, then this might have been the place to go, the one that's in the background, behind me with the crystals. But it's a fascinating event, and it is so good for the Tucson economy. And
Yeah,
what
and
happens.
that's a little bit of my prior industry before this, working in the trade show industry. I
Yeah,
know when I left in 2014, they said the average nationwide that an attendee has on the impact at a show is $1,600 a day.
like me. Like if I
Yeah.
went and I
So
came to
and I say
town.
$1,600 a day, it would be $1,600 over the course of the event. So between hotel, meals, transportation, tips, all those kind of things, average attendee say $1,600.
And
So
I'll
if
bet
you've
it's
got
way,
65,000 people coming in and spending
yeah.
essentially 16, and that's not even like you said, the ones who are there for 3 weeks who are taking a hotel room and setting up shop.
Yep. The Airbnb people that come back year after year, the hotel rooms that come back year after year. Some people, I actually know someone who has a big house up on the west side of the city. And when I say big, it's kind of like what we rent for our family reunions that sleeps 10, 12, 14, 16 people. And he owns
That's a good
another
size house.
yeah, he owns another property. So he rents out his house from January through April. He goes and stays in his little condo, and he pays for everything for the whole year based on the people that come and stay at his house, the big house, So it's probably the kind of place that they could film some TV show.
Well,
But
and you know, demand
yeah,
is high. Basic
yeah.
economics, demand is high. He's going to charge more.
Oh yeah, of course.
So,
Yep.
some if it's normally $200 a night, now it's $500.
And this is our season when everybody else is coming to get out of the cold, the rain, the whatever, want to be able to drive. This is our time of year. So we have the Fiesta de los Vaqueros, which by the way, the kids get spring break or rodeo break. It was another thing that when we first moved here, like you, I was like, you get
What?
time off to go to the rodeo, then the gem show, and then it's also big golf time. So between those three things, Tucson's hopping this time of year. Yeah.
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 Well, and we have rodeo right now, and in a couple of months, it's the really big event for San Antonio, which is Fiesta.
Oh, that's right. That's that picture
And
we have on
Fiesta
our
will come up
webpage,
in
right?
April, and that's not at all related to anything to do with Easter, just sometimes it happens to coincide. So, like New Orleans has Mardi Gras coming up,
Yeah.
we've got Fiesta to look forward to.
Between the things that are regional that happen and the things that Hallmark have created, which we talked about last time, how there's always a reason to send a card. And now there's a website that has created a day for everything. So, there's probably a horseshoe day. Um,
Which the day of this recording is National Pizza Day.
of course it is. We should have had pizza. Um,
The
anyway,
fast food.
there's always a reason. Okay, so we've talked about what's happening in our cities. Eric, tell those who have continued to listen or joined us a little bit about our title, how we chose it, some of the thought of what's happening as we enter 2023.
Yeah, some of the thoughts. So honestly, it was about this time last year that we were really kind of getting serious about an idea that we've kind of had loosely touched on going, are we going to do this podcast? Are we not going to do this podcast? Yes, we are. We need to be planning for it because it's not just as easy as making a recording. We've got things to do. And of course, we had to figure out what the heck are we going to call this thing? So, anybody who's been a listener, anybody who's a future listener, episode 17, we're finally going, let's try to explain how we came up with real siblings. It ain't easy. What does that have to do with anything they talk about?
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess number one was we absolutely knew we wanted to focus on the fact that we were family. We felt like that in and of itself kind of differentiated us from other podcasts and other content that may be out there.
Mhm.
Uh, the Scott brothers, who everybody knows from HGTV, of course, but we are, and the real obviously comes from the fact that we are truly related and we both work in real estate. So we thought, okay, those two things work together. Within Keller Williams,
Yeah.
coaching, training, uh, teaching you how to, once you get your real estate license, you have to learn how to do the business. And I know that sounds funny, but every business you go into, any job you do, there's a training period, right? And you have
Yeah.
to get, and in this case, it's you've got a license. It's way more than just opening a door. Or, hey, I'm a real estate agent now. Come let me sell your house.
Piece of paper that says I
That's right. I have
graduated.
a piece of paper. I'm now a certified expert.
Exactly. Oh my
Or a
God.
licensed expert. I've been
Yeah.
checked out, double verified. And within that, it's like there are things that we do that are not necessarily complex. It's simple.
Mhm.
But just because something's simple doesn't make it easy. And one of the
Mhm.
easiest examples or best examples that I can give to begin with is when you initially get your real estate license and you start trying to develop your business, there is a lot of outbound telephone calls or what's referred to as circle prospecting. And when you do that, you get in, you get on the phone, and some of you listening may have already experienced this before with a telephone call of going, hey, this is Eric with Keller Williams. I've got some clients that are looking over in your area, and we've been seeing a lot of activity in your part of the city. Have you been planning on making any moves? Something along those lines. And you're going, how did you get my number? You can imagine there's a lot of telephone calls that get hung up, a lot of angry people. The
Yep.
actual act of dialing is not anything that is complex. You can even read the number, you don't even have to touch your screen, right? But that doesn't make it easy to get rejection after rejection after rejection, potentially people cursing at you. There are people who, it's like, how did you get my number? I'm supposed to be on the no call list. Don't you ever call my house again. And then that phone number will be published to our entire brokerage to say, do not call this number. And we are supposed to manage a do not call list, right?
Failing forward.
So there you go, failing forward. So that is the simple, not easy portion of it. And then the final I'd say is the ant and or the ain't.
The age,
Real
not the ant.
siblings, it ain't easy.
It's a great dad
And
story.
this is a dad story. So our father, Bob Seaman, was honestly known, as I recall, for basically two jokes in his career. One was the suit joke, which he performed at my wedding, and I have photos of it.
I do too.
And anybody who did corned beef and cabbage regularly got to hear, or maybe even the chili festival or something over at
Yeah.
the elementary school. But
Yeah.
there was a joke he told about ain't. And in this case, I used my dad's name. So little Bobby was sitting in class at school, and it was time to practice handwriting. The teacher instructed all the boys and girls to get their notepads and pencils. She heard the rustling of desks as she approached the blackboard. She pointed out several sentences on the board which she wanted the children to write down, and all the students began to write down those sentences. Everyone but little Bobby. When the teacher asked, why are you not writing down the sentences? Bobby replied, I ain't got no pencil. The teacher seized the moment to correct and instruct in proper grammar and said, I don't have a pencil. She doesn't have a pencil. He doesn't have a pencil. And Bobby looked and scratched his head and said, ain't nobody got none? So that's
Saying that.
the ain't in the name. So
And I think it's
simple,
in the dictionary now,
it's
Eric.
not easy. Real siblings, it ain't easy. And then Donna, you discussed the logo.
Yeah. So we also thought, okay, we're mom and dad were mid-century and small town Ohio, and honestly, there was a hardware store uptown, and they fixed a lot of TVs. And so I approached a young lady that was working at our office who was really good with graphics, and I said, we kind of want this older fashioned looking style, maybe to go with the Donna Reed show. I should have thought about that. That is kind of like harkens to the past, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about the past. And even though we are children of the 70s and 80s more, kids, youth, whatever, during that time frame, mom and dad were, from the 50s, and the TV looks kind of like an old 50s. And honestly, we think that green looks a whole lot like the color that was in all the schools, kind of the paint color that was used everywhere. So we chose kind of a nostalgic logo for us to use. Oh.
And then the first episode, for anybody who listened, we were actually together at our annual family reunion. We were in Manhattan, Kansas last year.
Yeah.
Took several different photos up against the most bland background we could find. And nowadays, using a free version of Adobe Express, I was able to drop the backgrounds, do a little bit of mixing and blending, and voila, real siblings. It ain't easy. TV logo with both of our smiling faces.
Yeah. Yeah. Taken by your lovely wife, right? She was one that took
That's right. Jeannie was doing the super photography. I was hoping you had to cancel the trip recently. I was already had in my head going, well, we'll get some more pictures. We'll freshen that up a little bit. We'll do some of this. And then you canceled on me.
Well, you know what? We'll do that in the fall as we go into November and December again at Caleb's wedding. Maybe we can do it for our end of year event.
So do you have any examples of simple, not easy from your standpoint?
I don't know that it ties exactly into that, but this is what I was thinking the other day. I drove all over to do one task. People sometimes think, oh, you just show pretty houses and you make a good living. Yeah. Well, I've had some estates, which means the people aren't here. So I've had to go back and forth, and I've had to open up for house cleaners, for window cleaners, for painters, for stagers. I've been to the same house 5, 6, 7 times with nobody there. It's not hard to do. It's a car ride. But when you do the car ride and it's all over town, and simultaneously there's somebody that needs a document that's like right now, and figuring it out. Oh, it's a trust, and there's one person in charge. And do we need the whole trust or half the trust or part of the trust? And do all the siblings have to be there? And it's just every day. Today I took a legal class for CEU and a fraud and everything. And I just thought, man, we have a lot. Not to mention a little bit of therapy, right? We're kind of therapists sometimes, so yeah, it's not always easy. It's a simple task to go up there and open the door for the person to get in the house, but fitting it into a busy life, running all over the city, it's not always easy. So what about you?
Well, the other one that I would think of is any of us who have ever had that injury. You're right-handed and you hurt your right hand. and because we do so much that we have become habits to routines to minimal amount of scientifically there's less brain activity as you commit things to routine from habit. You have more brain energy and capacity freed up for those things that you really need to think about and concentrate about because you've committed a certain amount of things to routine. Now, interrupt that routine. And I injured my right hand. And in injuring my right hand, I ended up in a cast. Well, think of the things you normally do with your right hand, even if it's not a pencil, as it might have been in days past.
Yeah.
Taking a shower. If you do this and you try to use a bar of soap, how do you do that? You can't wash dishes. All of a sudden, everything becomes more challenging. How do I bend my arm around to button a shirt and those sort of things?
Yeah.
And there are people who deal with that every single day. But it's those type of things that think of your own life, think of
Yep.
your own areas, and you go, oh yeah, man, when that happened, that was a pain.
Couple weeks ago, I couldn't open a pickle jar, just from stove in my thumb. Yeah. So you're right.
So
Funny.
it happens.
Yeah. Yep. All right,
So
brother. I think
that's
we've
it.
told a little bit about a little bit about us, a little bit about them, a little about what we hope for the future. So why don't you wrap us up?
All right. Well, as we close this episode, we want to thank everyone for listening and joining us in this stroll down memory lane as we reflected and recalled how life in the small town of Lindsay, Ohio, only a little bit today, impacted both our lives and careers in real estate. It was not just the houses and it wasn't just the lifestyle. It was a perfect blend of the two, which have
Yep.
carried us forward to our lives and our careers. As we conclude, please keep in mind that our goal is to communicate, educate, and entertain and connect with you, our listeners. If you are in Arizona, specifically Tucson area, or South Central Texas and San Antonio, we are both realtors with Keller Williams Heritage, and we are here to help you find the perfect property for your family to call home and create your lifestyle and lasting memories. If you are across the United States or somewhere around the world, we are both part of an extensive network of professional real estate advisors, and we would be happy to connect you with an amazing realtor.
Great.
Remember, it may be simple, but it ain't always easy. And until next time, I'm Eric,
And
and we are Real Siblings.
siblings.